47 seconds to blast off.
For a word from our response. I forgot to turn my volume on from my speaker. Danny, can you give me I don't think that system's even on back there yet. You got 52 seconds to get it done. I'm sorry. Didn't think about that. I guess I was relying on somebody else. Good morning, everybody. Starting Sunday school in just a minute or two. Let's forgot the technical aspect. The music man is looking into that right now. It may take a minute for things to get up. Hope everybody's doing okay on a Sunday morning. We'll get it. The sound may sound a little hollow right now, but we'll get that addressed here in just a minute. All right. Thank you very much. Good job. This is the second lesson in our study of Proverbs. If you have the Sunday School Quarterly, last Sunday it looked at chartered waters, and the authors of our Sunday School Quarterly were implying by the ship that was sinking in the graphic, but also in the title, that the Book of Proverbs makes a point to say that somebody has already lived your life, or one very much like it, and the waters have been chartered. The Book of Proverbs says these are the kind of things that happen. They're on the chart. This is dangerous territory here. This is where the shoals are. This is where the sandbars are. Avoid this. Go through this channel. Take this direction. So the Book of Proverbs starts out in the first chapter, the first few verses, saying, I'm writing this so that you will get smarter. You'll be smarter, and you'll have wisdom. So today, we're looking at the third chapter of the Book of Proverbs, and the title of the quarterly lesson is Direction Offered. Direction Offered. Sometimes things pop into my brain and not a part of the preparation. I don't listen to a lot of country music, but you can't live in the country too much or around in the South without hearing a lot of country music. And I know that you probably, if you're a country music fan, there's a new singer. He's been around for a few years as far as on the recording scene. But he's got I can't even remember. I think the song's name is probably just Good Directions. You know that one, Ronnie, where the guy's selling turnip greens on the side of the road? Yeah. This pretty girl comes by and asks him, she's looking for the interstate. So he says, if you go down here to the caution light, he said, there's a little store right there. You need to stop in there and get some Miss Bell's sweet tea. And then if you turn left there, it'll take you to the interstate. But if you take a right there, it'll bring you right back to me. It's a really nice song, a romantic song. And he kind of kicks himself for letting her get away. He didn't get her name or telephone number or anything. And he's just thinking, it could have been kismet. He doesn't use that word in the song, but anyway, he looks up and here she's coming back to see him. The girl of his dreams is coming right back here to me. And as a matter of fact, you find out at the end of the song that Miss Bell is his mama. And so it says, she stopped in to get some of Miss Bell's sweet tea. Mama gave her a big old glass and sent her right back here to me. Well, the Book of Proverbs, all throughout, not just in chapter 3, give directions. And so there are people who have lived before me and before you. It doesn't mean that they're smarter than you and I. Experience doesn't help everybody. But if you ought to always be on the lookout for wise people in your life. And they've been your parents, grandparents, an aunt or an uncle, a teacher, coach, someone who displayed and proved that they were wise people. Almost anything that they say, giving you some direction, can be helpful. So if you do not have a quarterly and you'd like to have one, there's still, I think, a few left. think all of the large print may have been taken.
I see 4.
There are 4 more?
Yes, sir.
All right, good deal. Well, we'll give them to you somehow or another. We're only in the 2nd week of the study. And I've entitled it, on my part, not Good Directions, or Thank God for Turnip Greens. That'd be a good title, too, for Proverbs. But I've called it Smart Living. I like the word smart. And conversely, I guess someone wish not. I really like the word stupid. I use it more on me than anybody else, but I like to have it there for use. I need it occasionally. It's something that's kind of a reprimand for me. I know when I've done something that's not wise. And when I say to self, that was not wise. You know what self says? That was stupid. That was stupid. I said, yeah, that was not only not wise, that was stupid. And so I need to know that. And I would not want to call you stupid. But I do like, and listen, the writers of Forrest Gump, I've heard all of my life. I don't know if my mama told me like Forrest Gump, but I've heard all my life, stupid is as stupid does. In other words, you're not a stupid person because you lack in intellect or understanding or mental capacity, but it's because you choose to do stupid things. That's what a stupid person is, a person who does stupid things. So it didn't, I tell you what, even to quote from the Proverbs sometimes, though, will get you in trouble. And if you happen to be, just like little Forrest Gump on the school bus, if you happen to quote, stupid is as stupid does, it still might make all the bullies chase you down the road. So you have to be careful. I do believe that what's talked about a lot in the Book of Proverbs is how to behave, what to do, what not to do. So I'm going to continue to kind of base on this. The word, of course, that is central, this is wisdom literature. You're going to see the word wise or wisdom used many, many times in this 31 chapters. The Hebrew word is chachmah. Chachmah kind of sounds like a Klingon word. Chachmah. And it's a unique word that doesn't address other kinds of mind, mental understanding, thought. It is has a very measured word, and it is a word that means more than just knowing things or having knowledge, more than just having information, more than just having an education, more than being intelligent or intellectual. I think it's about being smart. Being smart means you can take what you have or what you know or what you see, and you can respond to it properly. You can let it speak to you. You can let it lead you. You can use it to make good decisions.
Well, the one thing about wisdom comes from God. You can get knowledge from books, and you can glean knowledge from your teachers, but wisdom comes straight from God.
That's true, and I would probably say that there are going to be wise people. Maybe those wise people got their wisdom from God, but there are wise people that I've met who are not Christian people, that they're not spiritual people, they're not seeking after God. But I would say, when you generally speaking, all things come from God, and so. But this is what I know your point is that it's unique in that. It's the highest level of knowing and understanding.
Right.
And so, of course, God created it, God dispenses it, and He encourages us with all, get education, learn the facts, get experience. But He says, with all of your getting, with all of your learning, get wisdom. This is my own take right here when I'm trying to formulate it. And when I look through, I let the book of Proverbs set the stage for this for me. In other words, this is what I think of when I read the book of Proverbs, when I'm thinking of wisdom. It is a look or a view, or it is taking in the past and present and the future. Life, not just now. A lot of people say, well, live in the now. Well, that sounds very good. I know so often we repeat mistakes we've made in the past. Or, there's the old saying is that the person who doesn't remember the past is doomed to repeat it. There do seem to be cycles or circles in human history, in human existence, in human life. And so when we read or study or perceive, if we have a view of the past, and you're going to find out in the, you're going to see in the book of Proverbs where he says, don't forget. We're going to see a don't forget today in chapter 3. He's going to say, remember. So wisdom says, okay, now there are things that you have already learned. There are things you've already seen. Things that have already happened. And so it's not dwelling on the past or living an entirely nostalgic life, but we need to have an awareness. I think a part of being wise is saying, hey, I've seen this before, or I've heard of this. This is not something new. This is something that has happened before. Okay? The present has to do with perception. Many people live in the now and they look around them. They don't seem to be able to see or perceive actually what's going on. I don't know. Sometimes our eyes adjust things, or we see what we want to see. We see what we want to see. And so that's not helpful. A part of being wise is being able to look around and evaluate right now. This is where I'm at. This is where I'm standing. This is what has happened. This is the circumstance. This is the situation. Being able, a part of wisdom is being able to think, this is what has happened in the past, but this is the way things are right now. How does that compare? The reason I like to use the scales there is not just for weighing or measuring, but for comparing. Often, scales were not used to determine something's unworthiness, but if it was gold, it was supposed to weigh a certain amount, and that way you could prove that it was gold. So it was a good thing, not just negative. So, it's important to be able to look at our surroundings, to take stock and to take inventory, and to honestly, clearly perceive what the situation and the circumstances are. Okay? I've got my eyes wide open. I'm looking at this. I'm listening. I'm taking it all in. I'm filling in all the blanks. I have all the information that I believe that I can gather. That's right now, in the present. Here's something very important that I've begun to develop in the last 15 or 20 years of my meditation and thought. As a matter of fact, I was telling a family member of mine not too long ago. I said, you need, and I was using an example, I said, you need to be able to look into the future. I'm not talking about paranormal. I'm not talking about precognition or ESP. There's a character in one of the Men in Black movies. It's the third installation. You may not watch Men in Black in the movies, but the third one, there's a unique character in there. He has the ability to see all the different possible things that might happen next. He's an interesting character. It's very comical. He says, oh, I hope this is not the one where he forgot to leave a tip. Or I hope this is not the one where the plane crashed. You know, there's all different possibilities. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. And he is able to see all of those. So I was telling my family member, I'm not talking about reading tea leaves or tarot cards, but being able to play out scenarios. If I do this, what will happen? That's looking to the future, using your intuition. Now, you and I do not know the future. God does. But a part of us being wise is to say, if I push this button, what will happen? If I pull this string, what will happen? If I take this step, if I make this decision or this choice, you know, we may not be right, but it's always important to evaluate the possibilities. As I've grown older, I've begun to realize, I can even watch people and I can say, watch this. This is about to happen. Watch that little child over there. Let me just tell you what's about to happen. And it's not that I can see into the future, but I've lived the past, I'm living the present. Every one of us can use wisdom to think and take any situation, and that's what I was telling my family member. You're not thinking about, all you're thinking of, this would be fun. I would enjoy this. I'm going to do this because I just have never done it before. And had all the reasons. I said, all right, but what you didn't think about. Now, the reason I was talking to this family member is because they were in a mess. I said, now, you should have been able to sit down. You should have been able to see this coming. Now, sometimes there's just regret. Have you ever seen someone who made a mistake and they're sitting in the midst of the rubble? What do they sometimes say? See what I'm fishing for? I knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
I knew this was going to happen. Well, they didn't actually know, but there was something in their mind that said, if I go out on a joyride with these people, if I drink this or sniff this or snort that or take that, there's a possibility that this might happen. We've got to be able to think about possibilities, and I think that's a part of wisdom. That's just my take.
Well, people don't look at consequences of actions. They just think what they want to do now. And they're not thinking of the consequences of what they want to do.
That's right. You know, everything is in motion. Everything is moving. Even scientists today say that our entire universe began with an explosion. And since there is no sound in space, I have no idea why some intelligent scientists called it or named it the Big Bang. It was the big flash. It was a big flash of light. It's almost like somebody said, let there be light, you know? Who could have done it? And it was an explosion. And you can see like a time-lapse photography of an explosion. And it starts right there at the source, and then it just goes out. Our universe, our planet, is still flying away from that explosion. Everything in our universe is still escalating. It's still going on at unbelievable thousands of miles per hour. We're still going away from that central explosion, even though it happened a long, long time ago. As we look at wisdom, and what Randy said is about consequences. Everything is in motion. Do you know that Aristotle, the great philosopher, he gave us a great description or a suggestion about why he believed there was a God. Aristotle said that he could see that everything was in motion, everything was working, everything seemed to progress. But he said there had to be what he called a first mover. That's what Aristotle called God. So there had to be some, you know, if you push this, it moves. If you throw this, it goes. If you touch this, it makes it. Everything, there's cause and effect. And so he called God the first cause, or the prime mover. Everything is in motion. Everything has a consequence. Everything that you and I do causes something else to happen. It is not wise to proceed as if that is not true. Now, speaking about using this and talking about wisdom, there's still a great deal of conversation to be had about the pandemic and the circumstances that we're in. It is not wise. There are only a few of us here. There's about 7 or 8 of us here right now for Sunday school. There'll be more later. But to come to a meeting or to go to work or to go to any venue, to go to the store, to go to the doctor, where there are going to be several people, it's not wise to assume or make the assumption that all the people that you're going to meet at church or at work have never been affected or never been infected by the coronavirus. You know what the wise course of action is?
Stay at home.
That's right. To assume that everybody has it.
Yeah.
If you come and say, well, I don't believe that anybody there has been anywhere near the coronavirus, that's not wise. What you need to do is take advantage of a thought that says, probably everybody has. I went to the heart doctor in the heart center Tuesday, And we could, in the waiting room, we could only sit in certain places. And I sat down, said, "Come, don't sit here, don't sit there, don't sit here." And I thought, I wonder how many people have sat where I'm sitting right now. So probably a dozen people that day. Who knows who they were? Here I am at the doctor. My doctor came in, he had his scrubs on, had his booties on, had his mask on. Guess what the first thing he did was? Yeah, he reached out and did a fist bump. I wonder how many people, I said, fist bump. Okay, we only touched it, just one little bitty knuckle. I wonder how many people he's fist bumped today. Well, you're going to find that there's a great deal of debate about masks. Use a mask. Don't use a mask. There's a great debate about gloves. Use gloves. Don't use gloves. But there are two pieces of information that have been given from the very beginning. They still stand, and nobody's ever debated them or discounted them. There are two things to do that actually are real. You know what they are?
Social distancing.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
And don't touch your face.
Don't touch your face.
Wash your hands. And distances, of course, but you can't determine what other people are going to do and how close they're going to get to you. Do you know why? A mask might keep you from infecting someone or keep you from getting infected. Gloves may keep you from infecting someone or not getting infected. But what does washing your hands imply? You have been infected.
Yeah, but
Washing your hands assumes you have been infected. Why should you not touch your face? Because you didn't wash your hands.
Yeah.
You see, we have to be wise. Now, it is unwise to come to church to just assume that since it's church, I could go to the heart doctor and say, well, surely the heart doctor wouldn't come in and bump hands with me if he's been exposed to anybody with the coronavirus. Well, he doesn't know who has the coronavirus and who doesn't. He doesn't know if he's been infected or not. You know what the best thing to do is, the wise thing to do, is just assume that he's crawling with it and bump his hand and then go wash your hands as soon as you can. All right, let's look at Proverbs chapter 3. He said, "My son, never forget the things that I taught you." Look here, remember, think of the past. Now, let me say a word before I even continue. This is a thing that I spent more time mulling this over in my mind and how to say this. And I want to say it to you, and I want you to understand. The book of Proverbs is a part of the Bible. It's a part of the Word of God. But the very first verse in the book of Proverbs says, "These are the Proverbs of King Solomon, the son of David." Now, it's very important. There are several times in the Apostle Paul's writings where he'll be teaching along, and we can assume that what he's giving us in his letters are from the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. Now, Proverbs is inspired by the Holy Spirit as well. It's recorded for our benefit. But every once in a while, Paul will say, now I'm saying this is not the Lord. It's very confusing. Paul says, now I got something to say here, and I'm going to say it, and it's me saying it, not the Lord. And so Paul has his say. And he tells us something about marriage and about women. He's obviously saying, obviously I don't know anything about women, so I'm going to tell you, this is just my opinion. And so I listen to what Paul says because I have the greatest respect for him. But I say, you know what Paul just now told me? That was his opinion and not the Lord's. The book of Proverbs is a list of wisdom from King Solomon. Now, it's not as evident in the Proverbs, but if you get over to Ecclesiastes, in the book of Ecclesiastes, who is also written by Solomon, there are a lot of things that he says that are actually wrong. There are things that people say in the Bible that God wants us to know that that's that person's opinion. It's important for us to know that people have that opinion, and people say that, and people hold to that as truth. It may or may not be. For instance, in Ecclesiastes, the writer Solomon says, everything, what does he say that everything is? Do you remember?
Vanity.
He says it's vanity. Everything is vanity. Nothing is has changed since the beginning of time. Everything is as it was, and it's going to continue until we go to the grave. Well, that's not true. The coming of Jesus made everything different, and there are also many other things too. And God did not make everything that God made is not vanity. You see, the Ecclesiastes is a picture of someone who's in despair, and he's discouraged, and he says, I tried everything. That's another thing. He said, I tried women and wine and song. Now, you're not supposed to read Ecclesiastes and say, I need to try all that too. No, that's a mistake. You don't have to try everything to find out that it's wrong. Well, I'm saying all of that because there is great hyperbole in the book of Proverbs. He says, when you do this, this will always happen. Well, the fact of the matter is, he's giving good advice, but there are very seldom any times in human existence where something always happens. Anything can happen differently. There are some times when he says, if you do this, this will never happen. You can't say never about human life. So there are some times in here where he says, if you'll do this, for instance, he says, if you do this, if you take this course of action, if you live this kind of life, you will always be successful. Now, our people who like to preach the benevolence gospel and the prosperity gospel, they're all over that. But even good people are going to fail sometimes. Sometimes you're going to do your very best, and you're not going to succeed. Sometimes bad things are going to happen, even though you did the right things. Those are not addressed. The writer of Proverbs is completely optimistic. He's positive. He's encouraged, and he's on side, and he says, if you'll just do this, everything will be lovely. Well, he's well-intentioned, but that's just human advice. Paul talked about learning to rightly divide the word of truth. And so what that means is saying, well, that's good advice, and I believe it's worth following. Let's look on. If you want a long and satisfying life, closely follow my instructions. You can follow the instructions of Proverbs and die at a young age. That's possible. It has been done. This is not a promise from God. This is an encouragement from Solomon. Not everybody who has taken the right path winds up with a satisfying life.
Well, basically, I think what Solomon is saying is, I've done it, and you can do it too.
That's right.
He's encouraging the people that's reading this.
And he doesn't believe to give any allowance at all for the possibility that it might be in any way different, though he's wise enough to know that sometimes it is. So he goes on, never tire of loyalty and kindness. Hold these virtues tightly, write them deep within your heart. If you want favor with God and with man, a reputation for good judgment and common sense, then trust the Lord completely. Don't ever trust yourself. In everything you do, put God first, and he will direct you and crown your efforts with success. Now, I like that translation from the Living Bible, but you're probably more familiar, and I am more familiar, with the King James Version of Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct thy paths. Now, you can take that to the bank. He's not giving you his advice right there. He is giving you a promise about God's trustworthiness. In verse 7 it says, don't be conceited or sure of your own wisdom. Instead, trust and reverence the Lord and turn your back on evil. When you do that, then you will be given renewed health and vitality. So he's very positive there, and he's giving the impression that you'll never be sick. You'll just have health and vitality. You'll never hurt. You'll never have any pains. You'll just be young and vibrant all of your day. Well, he's being overly or enthusiastically optimistic, but it is hyperbole. He is shooting past the moon. Honor the Lord by giving him the first part of your income, and he will fill your barns with wheat and barley and overflow your wine vats with the finest wines. Well, we read Philippians chapter 4 as well, where Paul says, I've learned to be hungry and to be without. I've learned to be in want, and I've learned to be filled. So Paul says, my whole life is sometimes I have everything I need, and sometimes I don't have everything I want. But he says, God is still good. He's still blessing me. Here, the writer of Proverbs seems to be giving a recipe for complete success, never-ending, never-failing success. Young man, do not resist it when God chases or corrects you, for his punishment is proof of his love. Just as a father punishes a son he delights in to make him better, so the Lord corrects you. I believe the word punishment right there is something that is punitive. More often it's just to pay you back for the wrong you did. But he does use the word chastening or correction. Here are the reasons that I like the word discipline. My parents were good parents. They never punished me just to cause me pain, to pay me back for something that I had done, some rule I had broken. It was always to teach me something. It was always for me to learn. It was always, and here are the reasons that I believe that God disciplines his children. Now the Bible does teach that there is punishment for the wicked. There is punishment for the ungodly. And that the Bible teaches that those who do not seek out God or God's forgiveness, they do not want God as their Father or their Savior, that ultimately they are going to suffer because of their evil doing. God deals with us as children, though, and it has to do with his discipline. It's a matter of correction. He wants us, I want to correct you. I want you to go in this direction. Instruction. Good discipline is always instructive. It always explains, this is why you're being disciplined. This is what I want to produce. This is what I hope that you will decide. It has to do with direction. It's a way of pointing someone the way that they should go. And it is also protection. I'm disciplining you because I don't want you to play out in the street. I don't want you to touch the hot eye on the stove. I'm protecting you. Good laws and good discipline. Good parenting has to do, I think, with these four things. No parent should ever reach out just in anger. Or even if a child has done something to break the rules or to be out of character or off track. They do not deserve to be harmed or hurt or to feel pain just simply as a revenge or a recompense for a bad decision. I believe that God does this. And that the very last words of chapter 3 of Proverbs says, don't be upset if things collapse in your life. He's really talking about things that go wrong. You know, it's odd that he was saying, if you do this, this, and this, everything will be perfect. But then he says, if everything's not perfect, in other words, we know that we're being disciplined or chastened by God often when our pieces don't fit together or things don't work out, when we fail, or when we see ourselves in a calamity or in a disastrous circumstance. God is allowing us to feel the consequences of our decisions and our actions. So when God allows that to happen, he says, don't have your feelings hurt at him. He's trying to help you. And he's just letting you see this is what it feels like when you make the wrong decision. Okay? All right, I thank you so very much. I hope that you'll come back again next Sunday. Those of you who have tuned in this morning for Sunday school, I hope that you'll continue. As a matter of fact, as I said, let me know if you need a Sunday school book. I'm not teaching the quarterly, but allowing you to have that as a separate source. You're getting that teacher's information about Proverbs, and then mine. Then you'll have your own, and you can compare the three. God bless you. I hope that you can come back and stay or tune in. Our worship service starts at 11 o'clock, which is only about 25 minutes from now. God bless you all. Be wise.